The weirder the plant hack, the better. Well, I've got 12 of the weirdest plant hacks going that actually work to save you time, money and effort, as well as help you become the plant whisperer you'd always dream you'd be. Let's plant on. The first hack comes from one of my subscribers who mentioned it in the comments to a recent video. Here's the problem. You've got your plant living in a terracotta pot sat on top of a terracotta saucer. You're super proud of it because it looks great. Plants sure do look lovely in terracotta. Mwah! You sit it on top of your windowsill or fireplace mantle and go on with your business. You water near enough every week like the doting plant parent you are, but after a month or so you start to notice some damage on the wood underneath the saucer. Gutted! The condensation from the terracotta is damaging the wood and now you need to get the decorator around again. Sadly, this problem isn't just limited to terracotta. Even porcelain pots can cause this problem. You can of course set a mat underneath and this does a job, but frankly it can look a bit ugly. A neat alternative then is to get yourself these little felt pads from IKEA and stick them underneath the pots. Not only will it help against condensation, it will also stop scratches appearing on the surfaces from when you move the pot. A double win. You know what they say, a worker never blames their tools. Well, a plant parent just might. This one does anyway. If you're using a crusty pair of snippers with rust all over them to do your pruning and propagating, then you're asking for trouble. Keeping them clean is the aim of the game. The problem is that cleaning rust spots off pruners is an almighty challenge. Well, not anymore my plant friend. Introducing the humble lemon and some good old table salt. Mix together the juice of the lemon with some salt in a bowl. And don't worry, I've not turned this channel into a baking show, we're still talking plants. Apply a liberal coating on the pruners and leave it to work its magic for about an hour. Come back and give it a scrub with a brush, or in my case this scrub daddy here. The rust spot should come off. The lemon juice dissolves the rust while the salt acts as a gentle abrasive. If any areas are being stubborn, give it another round of lemon juice and salt. Just be sure to first rinse and dry well. Do you have a Hoya or pothos with extra long stems that are hanging down loose from the pot, creating a bit of an untidy look? Look, I've got this right now with my Hoya in my living room. I've got nothing to put his stems onto. Of course, I could go out and buy one of those fancy wire trellises, but did you know you can quite easily make your own? All you need is that spare wire hanger that is lying in the back of your wardrobe that you've not used since the 90s. Don't worry, it's not too technical, but you do need something that can make a cut through the wire. It's only one single cut, I promise, nothing more. Now, cut near the top like this, and then honestly, the world is your oyster in terms of what design you want. You can create a loop, or you can go a little funkier. Try this. Straighten the hanger out as much as you can be bothered to, and then make a few bends so that you end up with something like this. If you've got a pair of pliers, then use those. It makes it easier to bend the wire if you're struggling. Now this really doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, look at mine. The beauty is that it'll all be covered up by the plant anyway when all is said and done. Stick it in the soil and you've now got a nice rigid support system to drape the stems onto. By no means perfect, but in a good way, right? Sometimes it's the simplest solutions that are staring us right in the face that we just simply don't pick up on until someone shows us the bleeding obvious. This is one of those. For the longest time I would battle with potting soil when trying to add cuttings to a pot or repot a plant. You know, you try to make a hole in the middle to put your plant in, but by the time you grab the plant, the soil has gone back in the hole. The problem of course is that the soil is bone dry, but all we need to do is dampen it first before doing what we need to do. It's so simple, yet I didn't do this for the longest time for some reason. Dampen the soil and it stays where it is. Makes life so much easier sticking the cuttings in. Water sure can be pretty expensive, especially if you're on a meter. Reusing wastewater for something else can be a real game changer, not just for your wallet but also the environment. And this is something you should be doing with regards to your plants. Plants don't need pure water from the tap or bottle. They're fine with a bit of cloudy water, or grey water as they're known in the trade, trust me. In some cases it's even beneficial. The obvious one is using the water you use to cook your veggies on your plant instead of pouring it down the drain. Don't use it though if it's salted, and be sure to let it cool. We don't want a massacre on our hands. It'll have a few extra nutrients your plants will love too, but broccoli water does pong a bit, so you have been warned. There are other ways of reusing water too. even the water from washing your dishes. As long as we're sensible and we're using eco-friendly dish soap and you're not washing away dairy, meat or a load of oil, you should be fine to reuse it. I probably wouldn't reuse the water from a heavy load from your dinner, but if you're doing a bunch of glasses and whatnot, it's well worth considering. It might sound a bit mad, but you can even reuse your bath water. Depends how far you want to take the water saving, I guess. You just need to be mindful of the soap you are using. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You're at the shops and you find the perfect plant specimen to bring home to meet all your other green friends. You sit him snugly between a bunch of other plants, grab the tag from the pot and lob it in the bin. It's pretty big and makes things look ugly, right? I mean, you've read it and there's going to be no problem remembering the name of the plant, right? Well, fast forward a couple of weeks and you start to notice some browning on the tips of the leaves. What on earth can be causing that, you think to yourself? I best look that up on the internet. Now, what was it called again? Damn it! If only you'd made a little label to help you. But what do we make a label out of? Paper and card are no good because they get wet and turn to mush. Needs to be plastic, I guess. Well, this is where a used yogurt pot comes in perfectly. Give the pot a good clean and thorough dry. Make a series of snips like this and you've just created the perfect little tags to stealthily sit in the soil. Use a marker to write the name of the plant and you'll never forget the name of it again. And because it's plastic, it won't degrade into a mush. Happy snipping! Now, this next one is a little controversial. Let's talk about proplifting. Proplifting, in case you are unaware, is taking cuttings from plants in the shops for the purpose of taking them home, rooting them, and then growing out the plant. It's controversial because proplifting without permission is essentially stealing from the shop, especially by taking cuttings that have accidentally fallen off the plant. It can be tempting to accidentally knock off a stem of a Philodendron Brazil or Tradescantia zebrina and pocket the cuttings to take home to root, but doing this can land you in hot water if you've not sought permission from shop's management. The hack then is to simply ask permission. Ask them if they would mind if you could hoover up the stems that have come off the plant naturally to take home and root. Because you have asked permission beforehand, you'll probably find that they are more than happy for you to take them. They're only going to go in the bin anyway, right? I once got talking to a cashier and she told me that she would regularly go around the plants in the shop, pick up and take home any cuttings that have fallen off the plants for her to root at home. I bet she had a right little empire going. What's the one thing that is absolute plant gold that no plant parent should live without? Well, yes actually, but not what I had in mind. Yeah, that too again, but again, not what I was thinking. Turns out there's a few things. No, I'm talking about perlite. It's plant magic and I highly recommend you get some if you haven't already. I love it for making perlite prop boxes. They are perfect for making cuttings root super quickly. The problem is, of course, that they are pretty ugly. Mrs. Sheffield isn't a fan, so I have to keep mine out of sight and out of mind. A cheeky solution to this though is to make mini perlite prop boxes with those plastic boxes you get from the local takeaway. This is a thrifty alternative to chucking these away and Greta Thunberg herself would be proud of you. These are great and are small enough to be stored more or less anywhere there is light. Well, obviously you won't get those in silly, but little cuttings like pothos and Tradescantia will root nicely in there. For big boys like that, use a water vessel or go rogue and get a big box set up and live with the hassle. I'm on a personal crusade to rid the world of fungus gnats, the most annoying of all pests. This then is the ultimate hack for getting rid of them once and for all. What's the one thing they need to make hay in your plants? Soil. They live off the fungus in the soil and sometimes might even munch on a root or two. The answer then is to go soilless. That's right, no soil. Take away the very thing they need and they'll be hopeless, no less than they deserve. You see, plants don't need soil to thrive. They can live in perlite, leca or even just water. As long as you're providing them with nutrients, they'll be perfectly happy. Just look at this monstera. He's gone from this to this and he's done it living in just perlite. The next step for me is to try leca. I've not gone there yet for some reason, even though I was sent a bunch of bags to try by Cybertanica, so if you've got any tips on transferring to leca, then please let me know. If you've been watching Sheffield Made Plants for a little while, then you'd have seen me use these little IKEA kiddies cups for scooping up my soil when repotting a plant. Yeah, not ideal. Not much soil can get scooped up in these little things. Well, there is a better way and it's pretty thrifty. We've all got these milk cartons in the fridge, haven't we? What do we do when we've finished up all the milk? Lob them in the recycling, of course. but save the next one and turn it into a soil scooper. It's got a ready-made handle too. Perfect. To find out how to make the transformation, click on the video on the screen now. There's a bunch of other nifty hacks too, and subscribe to the channel.